Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar, Census Data to Your Advantage. My name is Rondell Clay. I'm the Regional Director for the Eastern Region TNTA Center, a resource of the Administration for Native Americans. The Eastern Region Center provides free trainings and technical assistance to tribes and organizations applying for ANA funding that are in our region. We cover a 37-state area from North Dakota down to Texas and everything east of that line. We also work with existing grantees by providing post-award training and assistance during project implementation. You can visit our website at www.anaeastern.org to find out more about the services that we provide. ANA is a program located within the Department of Health and Human Services under the Administration for Children and Families. ANA serves all Native Americans, including federally recognized, state recognized, and non-federally recognized tribes, American Indian and Alaskan Native organizations, Native Hawaiian organizations, and Native populations in American Samoa, the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands, and Guam. ANA promotes self-sufficiency for Native Americans by providing discretionary grant funding for community-based projects in 3 areas: social and economic development strategies, native languages, and environmental regulatory enhancement. You can find out more about the webinars that we've done in the past, as well as future webinars and other information about ANA on their website, which is right in the middle of the screen at the moment. Today's webinar will be posted in about 2 weeks. To access the webinar, you can visit the resource library from ANA and search on the keyword webinar, or you can go to the ANA website and select resource and then type in webinar. ANA hosts weekly webinars on a variety of topics. Due to the holidays, our next webinar is going to be January 8th, 2015, and it's going to be on the Super Circular. I highly recommend that if you are unfamiliar with the new grants and financial management regs that go into effect on December 26, 2015, that you register for this webinar. It'll be very informative. You'll find out what the changes are. As you know, ANA's funding announcements are out. SEDS, SEEDS, Language Preservation and Maintenance, Esther Martinez Submersion, and Environmental Regulatory Enhancement are all due March 4th, 2015. Our funding announcement asks for inclusion of demographic information in order to support your problem statement. So this webinar that we're about to present is very timely for those of you who are starting to put together ANA applications. This is the second webinar that we have done. The first one, utilizing census data to find information about your community, was done on July 17th, 2014, And you can either visit ANA's website or our website to view this webinar. We are very lucky for both webinars to have Amadeo Shije as our presenter. Amadeo is from the U.S. Census Bureau, Denver office. He works predominantly with tribes and native organizations on meeting their data needs. He is going to be our tour guide and help us navigate through the wealth of information found on the Census Bureau website. Hopefully, you all will pick up some great pointers as he's doing that. I am going to turn the controls over to Amadeo so that he can start showing his screen and begin his presentation.
Okay, well, thanks, Rondell. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amadeo Shije. I'm actually from New Mexico, Zia Pueblo. I'm a Native American. I'm a retired engineer. I worked 26 years in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then I spent some time in the tribal politics. I'm a former tribal leader. Well, currently I am a tribal leader, but I'm also the data dissemination specialist for the Denver region. In our region, we have 113 tribal governments, and I assist and talk to interact with these tribal entities, as well as some of the national organizations, NCAI, NIEA, and NICOA, and ACES, a bunch of other people. But I just wanted to go through, and very quickly, I know we have less than an hour to get through this. And we can do that, and I would also offer my services to you to give me a call if you need additional assistance. Tomorrow sometime I will forward a step-by-step process, a navigational tip to either Rondell or Candy, and then they in turn will forward the information out to you so that you can go back in and maybe try to pull up data that we're going to pull up today. It's rather easy once you get into it, and it's going to get simpler as you go along. As you see on the screen is our census. This is not the main site, but if I click on Census Bureau, it brings up this web page, and right along the top here on the blue ribbon, you'll see topics, some tabs. It says topics, geography, library, so on and so forth. And then these are some of the informational tabs. If you ever have any questions about anything, what the census does, that's a good place to go. And over here on the bottom of the page also, right along here, is information. If you want to contact your nearest regional office, just click on Contact Us over here on the bottom left-hand side of the corner, and it'll give you a map, and it'll prompt you through to find a regional office in your area. And I suggest that maybe after the session, if you ever get hung up on trying to find the data, those would be the people you would call. But again, if you want to call me, I'll be more than happy to help you out. Just because I'm not in your region, it doesn't mean I can't help you, but be more than happy to do that. Okay, to get started, I had talked to Candy some time ago about the types of data that you all would be looking for during this, I guess, during this time when you have to submit proposals and generate some sort of a proposal for the funding agencies. And most of the information I received were based around educational levels, language spoken, employment, some information about education, attainment, population, labor force, and that was basically about it, and a little bit of information about school-aged children. And we can do that. We can do all that here today. And there's, hundreds and thousands of other tables that are available that will give additional information about tribal governments and so on and so forth. So with that, normally where you would start is with data. And what I'll do is I'll go through and show you how to access data specific to education, educational attainment, and even school enrollment. We'll start up with that. And then I'll show you how you can access data for those tribal nations who have lands that are subdivided into regions, such as council districts or voting districts, or just, like Navajo Nation has 110 chapter districts. And so a lot of people don't want to see all the data for the whole tribal nation, but they want to see specific areas. So we'll show you how to do that. So what I would do is normally I'd start off with data up here on the top of the page, and then I would put my pointer down to data tools and apps. And as I do that, I see a pop-up on the left-hand side, and I would move my pointer over to the American Fact Finder. The American Fact Finder is our main search engine when it comes to looking for data. There's a couple of ways that you can search the data. You can do the guided search, where if you click on this guided search, it'll kind of walk you through and ask you questions. What sort of topics and what sort of information am I looking for? And it'll walk you through, and all you would have to do is answer those questions. But for this particular session, I'm just going to go right into advanced search. It's really easy. So what I would do, I just click on advanced search up in here in this underneath this magnifying glass. Click on that, and then I'm going to start my research. So over here on the left-hand side are some of the topics or information you might have some interest in looking for. I always say, if you know the topics you're looking for, you need that. You need also the geography of the area that you're looking for those topic information. And then for our case, the race and ethnic groups, if you want to define tribal groups by race or by tribe, you can do that also. So for this particular session, we'll start with topics. I'll click on topics. Once I do that, I have this pop-up screen that gives me additional information that I can select from. And since I'm looking for education and educational attainment and enrollment, I'm going to look to people and click on people, and it expands with other subtopics. And then so I'm going to come down here. You see education there. I'm going to click on education. And then as I click on education, I have additional topics I'm going to look at. So I'm going to click on educational attainment. Click on that, and at this point, you can actually do multiple selections here. You can do field of degree if you want. For this case session, I'm going to pick on school enrollment. I'll click on school enrollment. So, and I'm done with that, so I'm just going to collapse this particular topic. Now I'm going to go down to data set, because I am looking for information about these topics. So I select data set, and then I'm going to select the most recent releases that the Census Bureau has put out, which would be the most recent, which would be the 2013 ACS 5-year estimates. If you recall, if you ever did any research prior to 2010, you would have the same data for 10 years straight. So by the third year, the data is basically obsolete. It's old, and a lot of people don't have any use for it. But now, Census Bureau releases data on a year-to-year basis, depending on the population. And most tribal governments will use the 5-year estimates. Some of the bigger tribes, like the Navajo Nation, the Cherokee Nation, the Blackfeet tribe, and some of the other larger 65,000 plus, you can use the 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year estimates. But for this purpose, we're just going to go with the 5 year. So I'm going to select 5. And you know, as you make your selections, you see right over here on the left-hand side, upper left-hand side, it's what we call our selection box, or shopping cart, if you want to call it. For every selection that you make, it's put in this little box, so that at least you know what you selected. Okay, so we've made a selection, so we're finished in this window, so we're going to close it out right up here. So now we're going to look at, we selected the topics, now we're going to look for where are these topics going to be located at the geographies. So you click on Geographies, and then over here in this pop-up screen you have some tabs up along the top here. In this particular case, we're going to go with the list. You can either go with the list or name, either way. But for this particular purpose, we're just going to go with the list. So what I would do, I will come down here, I click on the down arrow, and I'll come down. Since I'm looking for American Indian Alaska Native data, I'll just come down here and find American Indian Alaska Native Hawaiian Homeland 250. So I click on that, and then as I do that, then I have another pop-up screen. As you can see, you have a listing of all the tribes that are in the country, and then you can just basically scroll down and find the 2 tribes. In this case, I'll do Big Cypress Reservation down in Florida. I'll click on that, and then I'll save that. I'll add that to my selection, and it's loading the table. And once I do that, then I can just maybe scroll down. You can pick additional tribes if that's what you want. Let's go with Brighton Reservation. That's also down in Florida. I'll click on that, and then I'll add that to the selection box. So I selected 2 tribes, and you can select additional tribes if you want, but keep in mind, the more you select, the slower the system will react to some of your responses, because you're talking a lot of tables, a lot of data that's been, uploaded. So what I would do is, we're finished with this window, so now I'm going to close out the window over the upper right-hand corner of this gray shaded area. Just close it out. And now what we have here is, we were fortunate that we only have 1 table to select from. Sometimes you would have 3,000, 4,000 tables that you would have to either scroll to or refine your search, and we'll do a filtering search after a while here. So 1 table, when you only have 1 table, you want to select, just hover over the selected title and then click on it, and it'll give you the table. So here is your final results of what you were looking for. Now we're going to look for the education, attainment, school enrollment, and that sort of thing. So I know most of you are going to be preparing proposals for funding, and this is where you want to cite. Anytime you cite a set of data or numbers and you want to show the funding agency where you got that data from, this is where you want to cite right in here, the 2009-2013 American Community Survey 5-year estimates, so that the funding agency can go to that site and verify the numbers that you have noted on your proposal. So it's that easy to find the data. And then, of course, here it talks about household type, but we're looking for school enrollment. There's a school enrollment information. And in here we have the educational attainment information here, and it also gives you additional information about veteran status. And you can be, and I'll show you how you can be topical in your search. You can search strictly veterans information if that's what you want. But this is basically how you do, it's a large table. And if you were to download this table or print it, you would have pages and pages of this particular table. So you can actually modify this table simply by clicking on Modify Table up here on the upper left-hand side of the page. Just click on that, and then you'll see all these icons pop up right in here on the left, typed throughout the columns and the line items. And you can do it any number of ways. You can collapse or expand the categories. You can rearrange the columns or the rows. You can sort in ascending or descending order. Well, I saw a whole bunch of nothing down at the bottom of the page right here. You can actually just eliminate this whole section here by clicking on this minus icon and then click on this check mark, and it takes it away. And then if you don't need all this information right in here, you can do the same over here. Click on the minus on the ancestry and then click on that. And you can eliminate that whole bottom half of that page, and now you've modified the table. And you can go even further. You can do it by line by clicking on the minus, and it takes away that particular topic, and so on and so forth. And you just continue doing it until you come up with a table that you're satisfied with and that you want to print or maybe download. And then once you've accomplished all this, you can actually bookmark the table so you can find it later on, or you can print it or download this to a folder, or just someplace where you can pull it right up right away. And so this is how you can do that. And then you can just reset the table and remodify it, or you can just click on the hidden rows and columns, and then that'll hide the icons and that sort of thing. So it's that simple. So we've been able to find two separate sets of data simply by going through this process. We found data on education, educational attainment, and school enrollment. You can also do language. I think that was one of the topics that was in there in the selection that we were talking about with Candy Carney. And anytime you're finished with a research and you want to do another research, you always want to make sure that you clear all your selections right here on the inside the selection box. Just click on it, and it picks away everything, and then now you're ready to start the new search. And then we were talking about language. You go to topics, click on topics, and then you can actually go to people again. And then right down in here, you can look for data. You can find data about language, and it's language spoken at home. And then I think that was one of the topics that was that you might use in your proposals. So you just click on that, and you go through the same process from this point on looking for the geographies, and then finding the tribal governments. So that's one way to do that in looking for topics. The other is when you go to topics and you make your selections. I'll just select data set. And I wanted to show you this. This is the most recent release, very recent, the 2013 5-year estimates. And you can go all the way back down to the year 2000 to find data on any topics. So if you're doing research in the 2000 era, you can do that. So it's just a matter of clicking on it and then following the process through the same way I did earlier. So it's really simple. Let me show you, some of you work with tribes who have multiple areas. Within a reservation, it's not a solid piece of reservation. You're subdivided into districts or council districts, voting districts, that sort of thing. Let me show you how you can find data for those of you whose tribal lands are subdivided. So if we go to topics, click on topics, and then we're going to go down to data set. We found data set earlier, and then we're going to go with the 5-year estimates. Got that. And then we're going to close it out. We're finished with that. And now we're going to go to the Geography tab here. We click on Geography. And this time we're going to go to the Name tab over here. So it gives us a screenshot. Okay, so the next thing that you have to do is you have to determine, you're going to look for data that's most requested summary levels or all summary levels. I always click on all summary levels because this way you're sure that all the data tables are going to be loaded into the system and not just the most frequent or individual blocks. So click on the all summary levels, and once we've done that, we're going to collapse geography type, and now we're going to look for the summary level. If you click on summary level, then at this point now we're going to look for the subdivision, because I've done this so many times. It's the subdivision basically is the number 251. You scroll down, you find the 251 tribal subdivision. This tells me that the reservation is going to be subdivided. And once I click on that, then I'm going to come up here. I'm looking for data within American Indian area, so I'm going to click on within American Indian area. So now it's giving me a list of all the tribal governments whose tribal lands are subdivided, and these are all the tribes that have lands that are subdivided. So let me, I'll just click on Standing Rock because I work with Standing Rock in our region, so I'll click on Standing Rock. And once I've done that, as you can see, it's already updated my table, and I have all eight of the districts in on the Standing Rock Reservation. And from this point on, you can either select individually by clicking on inside the box on just those that you want data for, if that's what you want, or what you can do, if you're only looking for one set of data for one particular district, you just hover over that particular district and click on it, and it'll pop up all the tables for that district only. Or you can just check all. I think it's small enough where you can get it all. So you've got it all there. Now you're going to add all these tables to your selection box. It's uploading, it's loading it up. Once it's done, then we're finished here, and then we're going to close it out. And now we have, remember I said earlier, there are some cases where you're going to have a huge number of tables. Well, this one here has 954 tables. All these tables are related to the Standing Rock Reservation. And you have pages of data, and then you can actually increase the number of tables on each page here by clicking on this down arrow. You can put the maximum 75 tables on each page. You still have a lot of pages to scroll to. So to refine your search, let's just say we're looking for information about how about labor, something to do with labor. So I'll just type in a keyword. It's labor. You can put labor. As you can see, as I type in, it pops up some recommended sites that you can go to. Labor is a key word, but maybe I'm looking for employment, labor force, and I think that was one of the topics that you might be able to use or will be using in your proposal. So I click on topics on that labor employment topic, and then I click go. And then now I'm down to 93 tables. So I'm pretty close. I'm probably pretty close to what I'm looking for. So normally the tables closest to your keyword that you type in are at the very top. And so the type of table that you're going to see without the data, I mean, but it will give you the definitions of each of these tables. Again, this looks like it's a large table. So, you know, and once I find, maybe I'm looking for information on income or the type of workers that are working on the reservation, and maybe even industry on the reservation. So, okay, that's it. That's what I want. So I'll just go ahead and click on that particular item. I click on selected economic characteristics, and then I have all the economic characteristics for each of the 8 districts on the Standing Rock Reservation. And here we have your estimates, and then you also have a margin of error. The American Community Survey publishes margins of error for every data that is published on our website. And that basically is telling you how good the data is. Right now, you're going to see the data the margins of error are pretty high because the American Community Survey is fairly new. There's not really a whole lot of sampling to show you a really close or small margin of error. But just the same, the Census Bureau says, and they have this policy that we're always within, they'd like to think that they're always within a 90% confidence level of all the data that they generate and produce. So here, and if you want to learn more about the margin of error, there is a guide on the main Census website that you can click on, and it'll explain to you what the margins of errors are. Again, this is a huge table, but that's how you get to pulling up the data about a specific single tribe, and lots of information. Again, you can modify if you want, bookmark it, print it, download it. Create a map. Well, here we go. If you click on create a map, on some tables you can actually create a map. On most of the tribal tables you can't, simply because there's not enough data, or maybe the population base is not big enough. So this is telling me I have to click on a data. So I'll just click on that and then show map. So I clicked on 16 years and over in the Bear Soldier District, so I'm going to show map. And I should have warned you, anytime you start dealing with maps and everything, it takes forever sometimes to upload everything that you want to see, so it may take some time. But this is, it'll give you a map of that Bear Soldier area, and it'll give you information about the topic that we saw, and there it is. And then over here on the left-hand side gives you a legend. And you can actually change colors if that's what you want. And it gives you, you can find locations. You can mark the map if that's what you want to do. But when you get back home and play with this and see what you come up with, I mean, this is interesting. It gives you the ability to create a map, and if this is what you want to do, you can attach it to to your proposal. And or if you want to go back and create a different map, you can click on creating a different map with a different set of data information. And once you've finished that and you're going to do another research, topical research, then you just click on this back to advanced search. Click on that and it'll take you back to where we started from. And then you can go from there. And I want to make sure that I clear this off. Okay, let's see. Just to do something here, I'll do housing. And just basic count estimate. Housing units. I'm done. Close. Let's see. I think it's this one here. Let me check. But I know I pulled samples out from tribes from the lower 48, but you can also pull up tribes in Alaska. As you can see, there's Alaska right here. And they're all listed here by the federally recognized designation. So all the tribes are listed here. And I think there's more Alaska down at the bottom. And also Hawaii. You can pull up Hawaii in the same manner as we pulled up for Big Cypress and Brighton. So just so you know, the process is almost the same every time. You just, once you get into it, then you'll become familiar with it and get used to it. As you can see right here, here's Hawaii. Way down the bottom, they list it after Santo Domingo and San Felipe. And then you'll see all the Hawaiian groups that are listed here. And you can make your selections from here to find the data that you look at. The same type of data that we look for Big Cypress and Brighton. So that is Hawaii. So they're not left out. Alaska, you'll see too. Alaska has a huge list. I mean, there are over 200 villages up there. There we go. Here's Alaska, down on the bottom. And they're all listed here. Every tribe that's listed. So I just want to make sure that you are aware that if a tribal government is federally recognized and it's listed in the Federal Register, you'll find them right in this area. So depending on how you look for data, if you look under the name tab, you may not have the full listing of all the tribes. This is where you start getting more specific. And if you don't want to go through this process here that I showed you earlier, you can type in like the name of the tribal government, and then you just click on Go, and then it'll give you all the information about Navajo Nation, as you can see right in here. So that's how you search for data. It's really simple. Again, I would offer my services if you start to get into trying to look for data and you get lost. Please give me a call. I would be more than happy to walk you through on a one-on-one basis, and we can send you some information out of here as well. So it's that simple. Everything that you want to know, the topics, it's all right in here. People, as you can see, as you click through and find a topic that you have interest in, you click on it, it gives you additional subtopics, and then you can click on that, and then once you've done that, then a couple of times it comes to you rather easy. As I mentioned, this is only in like a 1 hour session, and there's really a lot more that we could probably show you, but we're going to run out of time. But this is basically just how to find data. And then what I searched for in the last 40 minutes or so is basically data that I was told that this group might use, and that was the educational levels, the language spoken, employment information, school information, population, that sort of thing. And so back to the main page, if you have a need to find quick facts, right here, just click on the down arrow, select the state that you're looking at information for. I'll click Hawaii. And it gives you some quick facts about the state of Hawaii. Gives you population information, gives you all the racial ethnic population, 5%, 1.2% of the total population of Hawaii are Native American, Alaska Natives. And Hawaiian, we've got 0.2%. Something's wrong there. And then you can also search by county or by city. When I send out the tip sheet tomorrow, I'm going to send you a step-by-step process on how to find tribal members that live off the reservation in cities throughout the country. It could be in cities, by municipalities, or it could be by counties. So we do have tribal members who have moved off the reservations, and you can pull up data by state, as I mentioned, by state, by nation, or by county, or by city. Okay, I believe that's it for me, from my side. If there are any questions, Candy, we'll run down and just I'm ready to take any questions.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you very much. That was extremely enlightening. I am going to open it up for questions. There are two different ways that you all can ask questions. One, if you have a microphone on your computer, or you are you dialed in to the telephone, the conference call, then you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and have you ask your own question. Otherwise, if you do not have a microphone and you are not on the conference call, there is a question tab on your menu bar. If you open that up, you can type your questions into the question box. So, let's see where we are. As far as folks typing in, could you give a little bit more background on the sheet that you're going to be sending us tomorrow? What kind of information is going to be on it?
Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to forward the several demonstrations that I had on how to access data for education, school enrollment, entertainment, language spoken at home, and the unemployment, labor force, that sort of thing. The tip sheets will contain information on how to navigate your way on a step-by-step process, on where to point, where to click, and where to look once you have a pop-up screen and that sort of thing. It should enable the participants to be able to navigate their way through to find the data that they might be looking for. I will not mention any tribes. I'll just put down a tribal name or tribal government, and they can just fill in the tribes to make the selections. And as far as the topic, the table, they can choose whatever they want to choose, but the process will be the same. They can actually go in and view the data, and they can move in and out of the windows and look at the data and see what they're looking at. And if they have any questions, what they're looking for, they can always call me, as I mentioned. And that's what I would do, and I'll probably try to get it out to you as early as possible hopefully by noon tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Great. So hopefully everybody is seeing my screen. Yes, his name is spelled correctly. And you have his email address and his phone number. One of our participants, Amadeo, says, "Thank you for an introduction to the U.S. Census search. I didn't know where to start before now. I now know how to move through it. Thank you."
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. We have a question. Can you do a quick search for early childhood? Let me change the presenter back to you so that you can show your screen again. You'll need to turn...
Early childhood, are you talking about the ages 0 to 5 years of age?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same process as the very first item that I did.
Okay, you need to turn your screen on so they can see it. Right now they can't see your screen. There you go. There you are.
Data tools. Go to topics, people, and here we have the age and sex, or age group, either one. You can do that, age. And then let's do age, close. And then geography, I'll just maybe select any one of the tribes.
Yeah, just pick any tribe. That'll be great.
Yeah. I'll just go down to American Indian, Alaska Natives, 250. And I'll pick Yakima since it's the very first one up here. Add the selection. And I'm done. It's loaded. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to close out this window. And I'm just going to click on both these, the very top two items, and then click View. And there we have the information about age groups, 5 to 9 years of age and under 5 years of age. And it gives you the median age of that tribe, and it gives you, and it breaks it down even further. So well, that's all the information that that's relevant to the age side of it. And you can also do the other portion where I think it was like a sex ratio. Well, you can see it here what the ratio is. So that's simple.
Great. Great. Everybody, most of the comments that I have right now are all saying thank you very much. It was,
Okay.
For some it was a great refresher. For others it was a way to get introduced to the system. So we are very appreciative of your time, and I want to thank everybody for participating, and I hope everyone has the best holidays ever, and your new year is prosperous and happy and healthy. Take care, everyone.
Thank you very much.